I'm working on it. 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 I'm still working on it. I'm working on it. I'm better than I used to be. I'm smarter than I used to be. I'm wiser than I used to be. I'm brighter than I've ever been. But I haven't mastered it yet. I'm still working on it even right now. Every now and then I relapse and go back to thinking like I used to think or feeling like I used to feel. He's not finished. Have to deal with obstacles and deal with barriers and deal with situations, and David was used to winning, and that's what the Bible calls a mighty man of valor. Are there any mighty men of valor in here? Mighty men of valor are men who accept the challenge of life. They accept responsibility, whether they're right or they're wrong. When they do something wrong, they accept the responsibility and they say, I was wrong. They don't blame everybody for everything. They stand up and say, I was wrong about it, but this is what I'm going to do to fix it. A mighty man of valor doesn't mean that you always get it right, but it means you don't run home to mama when you get it wrong. You stay there and work it out and put it back together again because you're a mighty man of valor. Are there any mighty men of valor in here? Yeah, that means that you've been kicked, you've been shoved, and you've been shot, but you're still standing on your post, ready to fight the good fight of faith. That means that you can take a licking and keep on ticking. That means you've been through hell and back, but you're still standing as a testimony that the Lord is on your side. Your eye may be black, and your teeth may be busted, and your lip may be swollen, but you look the devil in his eye and you say, baby, I'm still here. That's who I'm talking to today. That's who I'm talking to today. Some mighty men of valor. Mighty men, identify yourself. If you are a mighty man of valor, you are a rare and precious commodity. I am concerned because men are on the hit list of hell. The Bible warns us in the scripture that they were out to kill. The Bible says in the King James Version, they were out to kill everything that pisses against the wall. It means men. Everything that urinates standing up, the devil is trying to kill. The devil is after the seed. He's after the male. He's after what the Hebrew word is zerah. He's after the seed giver, because a womb can't carry life if a seed giver doesn't produce it. He that goeth forth weeping and bearing precious seeds. Men, you are seed givers, and the devil wants to stop you from being a sower, because if he can stop you from being a sower, he will stop you from being a reaper. Are there any reapers in the house? Now hear me, and hear me good. I was watching on CNN the other day, and they were talking about how these women and these scientists have been working in the laboratory because, quite frankly, men are going out of style. There are women today that they don't even think they need a man. Back in the 70s, this women's lib movement, we're still seeing the fallout from the after effects of this I am woman, hear me roar mentality that's taken over the world, and it's even crept into the church. It's one thing to be independent, but this has gone beyond being independent in the arrogance. They don't even think they need a man. You got women today talking about, I'm having a baby, but I don't want no husband. I don't want a husband because I don't need a man for anything. What can he do for me that I can't do for myself? It's a lesbian spirit that needs to be driven out of the house of the Lord. Yeah, that's right. Get mad and walk out, but at least you heard me on your way out. It's a lesbian spirit, and it needs to be driven out of the house of the Lord. Now, how you like that? Now they're sitting up here playing with test tubes, talking about they've just about worked it out where two women can get together and have a baby without a man. What kind of foolishness with this? We keep fooling with these genetics, and we're playing God. We're going to create something we won't be able to control after a while. You better let God's plan arise and his enemies be scattered. When God created the man, it wasn't no optional creation. It wasn't no accident. He wasn't no Johnny come lately idea that God said, well, well, I guess I'll give the baby a father. The devil is a lie. God created a man in the likeness and the image of God, and there was a role for the man to play that cannot be imitated and cannot be duplicated. And when you got a good man, you ought to take care of him, because a good man is hard to find. I know you're a great woman and a tough woman and a strong woman, but it doesn't weaken you at all to appreciate having a good man. He's a dying species and he's a rare commodity. And when he comes home, he ought to find somebody that's either rubbing on his head or putting oil on his feet, because he's been out on the battlefield and he's been in a whole lot of fights. And if you got one, you better hold on to him, because they're hard to come by. Oh, y'all ain't gonna say nothing to me, but I'm gonna ride this horse to the ground today. Early victories. You ought not always run down to the school about everything. Some stuff little Johnny's got to learn how to deal with. We protect our boys too much. We don't let them deal with any kind of problem. That's why they grow up so weak and passive and need somebody to rescue them all the time. You don't rescue them out of everything. Some things you got to deal with yourself so that you learn how to become a victor. And you can't be victorious until you've had conflict. Sometimes you ought not save them from the conflict. Throw Jonah overboard and teach him how to swim. Oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying. They'll never learn how to fight if you protect them from everything. You might be standing over in the corner watching in case the thing gets out of control, but every now and then you got to throw him in there and say, you got to go back to school tomorrow and you got to deal with that, so he can get some victories up under his belt. It changes the way you walk and how you talk, and you hold your head up straight. Once you have come through something, you get some boldness. You feel a kick from your testosterone when you whip something. Just because you got testicles doesn't make you a man. I told you it was going to be rough tonight. This is your last chance to get out. If you're going to hit the door, you better go for it now. And understanding that even strong men struggle, and no matter how strong you are and no matter how relentless you are, there are moments in your life that you find yourself in overwhelming circumstances. David certainly was not a passive man by any stretch of the imagination. Oh yes, he was tender, and if you caught him at the wrong moment, you would misunderstand him, and you might think he was passive, and you might even go so far as to think he was effeminate, sitting in the arms of Jonathan, weeping and asking him to be his friend. You might misunderstand David if you caught him at the wrong moment. Catch him out on a mountain somewhere writing poetry and singing songs and dancing in the presence of God. You might misunderstand him. He was certainly in touch with his soft side, but he had the kind of assurance that comes from a man who's comfortable enough in his masculinity that he's not afraid to express all sides of himself. Where are my brothers at in here? So you might run up on David, who is writing poetry and singing songs and is creative and genteel in his disposition. But please don't misunderstand David, because if you made David mad, David was known to kill 100 Philistines and cut their foreskins off and throw them like rings at the feet of the king. David didn't take any stuff. He was radical when he was a boy. He was a boy killing lions and bears while other boys were playing with baseballs and basketballs. David was killing lions and bears, getting ready for the next fight. By the time he got ready to fight a giant, he had a resume of dead carcasses laying behind him, saying, you don't know who you're fooling with. I whipped the lion and I whipped the bear, and the same God that delivered them into my hand is going to deliver you into my house. I'll whip you too. I'll knock your head off. He didn't have nothing but a rag and a rock, but he knew how to work it. And when you know how to work what you got, God will bless you with the victory. He knocked him in the head. Good God. Took his sword out and cut the giant's head off for a trophy. David didn't take any stuff. He practiced victory, and that's what's wrong with male and not be a man. But if you're not a man, life will break you into itty bitty little pieces and throw you at the feet of some woman's doorstep, and you'll be either swept up or stepped over the rest of your life. And such are some of us today, but not David. David was a man of war. And he said, when he talks about his relationship with God, he said, he teaches my fingers to war. I want every man to put his fingers up and say, teach my fingers to war. Yeah, teach me how to fight. He said God taught him how to fight, how to not be a wimp, how to not just roll over and lay down and run home crying every time he ran into an opposition. God taught him how to stand with his head up and his back straight and deal with the issues of life. He was a warrior. Some of you women are in trouble because you connected with somebody. Johnny's real cute, but he has no spine. He's 6'2" and fine, but the boy got no spine. 6'2" and fine is wonderful. That's all you need when you're 17. But when you're 37, fine don't mean a thing if you ain't got no spine. Oh, y'all don't hear ways that we want to fall apart on you. There are some days that we would love to just come in the house and just collapse and burst into tears and say, I'm upset and I don't know what I'm upset about. I don't know. Most of us manage to make it through the night without that, but that doesn't mean we don't feel it. That doesn't mean we don't deal with it. The truth of the matter is we generally swallow it and keep on smiling, trying to be everybody's Superman, everybody's hero, trying to always deliver. There are men in this room, everybody has their number. Mama's calling you, move the refrigerator. Sister's calling you, move the couch. Wife is calling you, fix the refrigerator and the stove. Everybody's calling you. Anytime there's a situation, anytime there's a problem, and a man develops a Superman, what I call a Superman complex. He wants to be everybody's Superman. He puts on his boots, he's got on his cape, and he wants to leap off of buildings in single bounds and fix everybody's situation. And people love him as long as he does that. But the moment they find out that Superman is really Clark Kent, they don't know how to deal with it, and sometimes he doesn't know how to tell them because he's ashamed to admit that your hero is really human. And in the face of kryptonite, because every man in this room has his own brand of kryptonite, and in the face of kryptonite, David was strong. He was responsible. He was relentless. He was tough. It takes a lot to keep getting up out of the bed every morning and running into situations on your job and in the street and everywhere you go. And I'm not minimizing that women don't run into tough situations, because I know you do, and I respect you, and I've been your advocate for years. But let me tell you, there is a vast difference between what a woman encounters on the job and what a man encounters on the job. Push me, I'll belabor the point and prove to you. But when a man walks into a situation, he has all kinds of obstacles to deal with, not only from other women, but also from other men who handle you differently and get into contests with you and intimidate you. And by the time the man gets back home, he's been through hells that he never even mentions, and fights that he never even talks about, and belittling and demeaning circumstances that he has to swallow down every day and try to hold on to his integrity and still feel like a man, while the system is intent in treating him like a boy. Where are the men at? Are there any men in here? And the problem with a mighty man of valor is that a mighty man of valor is used to winning. Everything you jumped in, you whooped it. Everything you jumped on, you conquered. Everything you attacked, you brought to his knees. But sooner or later, you'll run into something you can't whip. You might not believe it today, and you might think I'm an old fuddy-duddy. You might think I'm foolish and stupid and ignorant, but buy this tape and save it. Sooner or later, you will run into something that makes you question everything you thought you did well. You haven't lived till you fail so badly that you wonder, will I ever get back up again? You don't know who you are until you've made a mess so bad that you can't even figure your way out of the situation, and you've got to call on God because you've made a complete mess of everything, and everything is out of your control. And frankly, men, you won't worship God effectively until you have lost control and begin to recognize that you are not God. That's what makes you get down on your knees and call on God. When you get in something you can't get out of, it'll make you seek God. See, it's one thing for the kids to come running to mama and you find out you can be had. It makes you careful. Oh, you ain't got to say nothing to me. I know I'm right about it. And there he was, discouraged. And here, ladies, is where bitterness breaks out in the heart of men, because a man can be discouraged and never tell you. He can be discouraged and still come home every night. He can be discouraged and say, what's for dinner? And don't worry, I've got that handled and I'm going back to work. And he can get up out of the bed every day and move about his chores and be secretly discouraged. And I hate to be this brutal and this honest and this transparent, but ladies, he can have sex and be discouraged. In fact, he can have it and be unhappy, and he can have it and be miserable, and he can have it and be at the end of his rope, and he can have it and send you flowers for your anniversary and still want to leave. Because somebody's got to tell you, because when you get the flowers, you think it's a sign that, y'all don't want me to talk to you, but doing what is expected of you is something you can train a seal to do. You can train a monkey to jump through a rope. You can train an elephant to stand on one leg, but just because he stands on one leg doesn't mean that the elephant is happy or the monkey is fulfilled. And David, brother, are y'all all right? Encouraging us. And we died on the battlefield fighting. And everything we did was for you. It was for you. I know we didn't give you us. I know we should have given you us. We gave you things. But the things were for you. The house was for you. The dishwasher was for you. The car, it was for you, baby. It was for you. It was all for you. And we took the bruises for you, and we took the pain for you, and we took the beating for you because we thought you were worth it. And we took all of it just so that you could come home and run us some water and say, you mama's man. Come on, Poppy. Come on, Poppy. Come on to mama. Ooh, y'all look like y'all in the dentist's office today. Getting a good old root canal. The key to the whole text is in this one phrase. It says, and David encouraged himself in the Lord. This is the key. David encouraged himself in the Lord. For all of you who have nobody to cheer when you come home and nobody dances when you come in the door, for all of the men who fought themselves through traffic and through work and through abuse and racism and discrimination and all the other aces, and then went through road rage and everything to finally get home to somebody who was so distracted they never even heard you come in the house, and you are angry and frustrated because when nobody claps for a man, he doesn't want to even come home. But to all of you who find yourselves in this situation, the book said David encouraged himself in the Lord. Do you want to have the real truth? You can't depend on anybody to give you what you need when you need it. Don't nobody know what you need like you do. If you need something, you got to get it yourself. You got to learn how to encourage yourself in the Lord. I wish I had some men that knew how to break out in a Holy Ghost praise. I wish I had some sisters who knew how to praise. See, women are more in touch with their feelings. They don't mind opening up. They don't mind praising God. But let me tell you something, fellas. When you get through going through hell and high water, you'll stop sitting around here with your legs crossed, looking all macho and all important with your bad breath, and you'll learn how to get on the altar and start calling on the name of the Lord and say, Lord, if you don't help me. There it was. He was discouraged and he wanted to die, but he sent for the priest and he said, bring me the ephod. It means I got to pray. Tell somebody, say, you got to pray your way out of this. Yeah, you got to pray your way out of this. You got to pray your way out of this. You got to pray your way out of this. I know this gets on your nerves because you don't understand why I'm preaching this kind of stuff. Maybe I need to explain something to you. 80% of the suicides that occur in this nation are committed by men. Men are three times more likely to commit suicide in their 40s and 50s than they are in their teens and 20s. I know you don't think I need to talk about this, but I do. Because when women die, they die screaming and complaining and reaching out and talking about why weren't you there for me and why we need to talk. When men die, we die quietly. Nobody said the word. We just slip away. But there is a new breed of men who refuse to die, who made up in our mind, I will not die like a dog on the side of the road. I know too much about God to let life kill me. I will not die waiting on anybody to come save me. If the kids don't get me, if the wife don't get me, if the preacher don't get me, if the boss don't get me, if nobody else will come get me, I know somebody who will come get me. His name is... So we need a new generation of men who are not afraid to clap their hands. We need some men. He said, I don't even know whether I got another fight in me, and I don't even know whether I need to go against the Amalekites or not. And God looked back at him, and in essence, he said two words. Fight back. Somebody holler, fight back. So I got a message for every man who wants to quit, and every woman too. For every man who's at his wit's end, and every woman too. For every man who's tired in the middle of the battle, and for every one of you who's wondering, do I have what it takes for this season in my life? God gave me a message for you today. When you get up out of the bed in the morning and you're driving down the road to work, fight back. When you go through hell and high water on the job and the enemy tells you it's all for nothing, fight back. When you go home and run into smell of smoke and all hell is breaking loose in the house, because if you fight back, the Lord said you will recover everything that the devil tried to steal. Slap somebody and tell them, I want it back. I want it back. Give me my joy. Give me my peace. Give me my power. Give me my authority. Give me my anointing. Get somebody by the hand and look him in the eye and say, I don't know what you're going to do, but I made up my mind. I'm not going to take this laying down. Look at him, say, tell the devil when you see him again that I am going to fight back, 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 fight back. Oh! This. You can't take this. You're going to have a nervous breakdown. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to die like your mama did. You're going to get sick like your daddy did. You got to talk back to those voices and say, hey! Touch your neighbor and tell him I'm calling out liars this morning. Sickness is a liar. Failure is a liar. Depression is a liar. Suicide is a liar. Despair is a liar. Spiritual heaviness, you're a liar. Disease, you're a liar. Can't learn, you're a liar. Can't read, you're a liar. Can't make it, you're a liar. Can't take it, you ought to call out every liar.